The story begins with us seeing a prisoner named Franck Adrian, who is locked up in jail. He is accused of stealing 2 million euros and has been sentenced to 4 years in prison. In the same cell where Franck resides, there is another prisoner named Morel, who is serving his sentence for allegedly molesting a little girl. Morel appears to be an innocent-looking guy. One night, some inmates come into their cell and tell Franck to come outside. After that, they start harassing Morel. Franck goes in front of the camera to ask for help, but the inmates have bribed the prison warden, so no one comes to their aid. Upon seeing this, Franck returned to his cell and began to fight back, after which the guards intervened and separated them. Morel thanked Franck for coming to his aid. The next morning their wives come to meet them. Franck's wife, Anna, asks him where he has hidden the money, but Franck doesn't trust her, so he doesn't tell her anything. Anna has also brought their daughter with her. Franck doesn't want his daughter to see him as a prisoner, so he gets angry with Anna. However, he loves his daughter very much and can't help but embrace her when he sees her. On the other hand, Morel's wife tells him that he will be released soon because the person who had accused him has withdrawn all their demands. In jail, everyone keeps asking Franck where he has hidden the money so they can take all the money. One day, while all the prisoners are watching a music concert in the jail, some of them attack Franck and threaten him to reveal the location of the money. They were about to be released from jail in a few days and wanted to steal all the money. When Franck refuses to disclose the information, they attack him, and Franck loses consciousness and falls down. 4 days later, when Franck regains consciousness, he is in the jail hospital, and Morel is sitting beside him. Morel tells Franck that he has been released, and now he is leaving the jail. He thanks Franck for his help and gives him his phone number. Franck tells Morel that his daughter cannot speak, so when he gets out, he should inform his wife that he has hidden the money in his father's grave so that she can use that money for their daughter's treatment. Before leaving, Morel also takes Franck's hair from the comb and then departs from the jail. After a few days, Franck's lawyer, who is also a private detective, comes to meet him. He asks Franck about Morel, to which Franck explains that he only knows him from being in the same cell. He describes Morel as an honest man who has now been released. Manuel, the lawyer, then informs Franck that Morel is not an honest man, but rather a serial killer who poses as an upright person in front of his next victims. He is very cunning and manipulative. Hearing this, Franck starts worrying about his daughter and wife, because he had also disclosed information about the money to Morel and had asked him to help his family. Now Franck is constantly worried about his daughter and wife while in jail. One day, while all the inmates are working, a guard tells everyone to get ready to leave, but he stops Franck. Some other inmates then come and attack Franck, brutally beating him because they also want to steal the money he has hidden. The guard joins them and doesn't say anything. However, this time Franck teaches them all a good lesson. He defeats them all, beats up the guard, takes his clothes, and escapes from the jail. Meanwhile, Morel was in the mall, trying to trap his next victim, a beautiful young girl. Just then, he sees on the news that Franck has escaped from jail. Hearing this, Morel's wife starts to get scared that Franck might catch them, but Morel reassures his wife that Franck won't be able to do anything as long as they have Franck's daughter. Here, we learn that Morel has kidnapped Franck's daughter. After Franck escapes from jail, the entire police force starts searching for him, and this case is assigned to a lady police officer named Claire. Claire is a very clever and intelligent police officer. In the meantime, Franck reaches his home to meet his wife and daughter, but he only finds no one there. Franck assumes they must have gone outside, so he leaves a letter for them, assuring them that he will return soon to meet them. Just then, the police arrive at Franck's house, searching for him. They surround his house from all sides. The police break down the door and enter, but they don't find Franck there because he has already left. However, Claire receives a letter. The police suspect that Franck hasn't gone too far, and when Claire checks the bathroom of the apartment, she finds Franck hiding there. Franck, trying to deceive them, leaps from the building's window and starts to run away. The police chase after him, but despite their efforts, Claire is unable to catch him. Franck leaps onto a moving train and escapes. He travels to a cemetery where his father's grave is located, the place where he had hidden the money. At night, when he opens the grave, he discovers that the money is missing, and he also sees another body lying there. It turns out to be his wife's body. Seeing this, Franck is completely shattered, and he breaks down, crying uncontrollably. He realizes that Morel must be behind all of this, because he was the only one who knew about his father's grave. Franck becomes increasingly worried about his daughter. He calls Morel, who reassures him that his daughter is perfectly fine, and with him. However, Morel warns him not to try to find them, or else he will harm Franck's daughter as well. After hanging up, Morel places Franck's stolen hair on the clothes of the deceased woman, whom he recently killed, to make it appear as though Franck committed the murder. He then takes the body and hides it in the same spot where Franck was previously hiding. The next day, the police arrive and conduct a thorough search of the area, discovering 2 bodies, one of which turns out to be the daughter of a senior police officer. With this evidence, the entire police force suspects Franck. However, Claire senses that something is amiss. Here, Franck goes to Manuel's house with the intention of seeking revenge for his wife's death and rescuing his daughter. Manuel is both Franck's friend and a private detective. Manuel shares all the information he knows about Morel and, at Franck's request, secretly goes to the police station to find out the location of Morel's phone. At this point, Franck is still at Manuel's house. When Claire checks the jail's logs, she notices that Manuel frequently visits Franck, which raises suspicion about Manuel's involvement. As a result, the police raid Manuel's house. Franck, to escape, first takes Claire as a hostage and forces the other police officers to surrender their weapons. He explains to Claire that he didn't kill anyone, and that this entire conspiracy was orchestrated by Morel. After revealing the truth to Claire, Franck makes his escape, but just as the police are about to catch him, Manuel arrives in a car to rescue Franck. Franck and Manuel manage to flee together. The police fired many shots to stop them, and one of the bullets hit Manuel. Despite being injured, Manuel is determined to save Franck. He believes it's crucial to catch this serial killer, or else many innocent girls will continue to die. Manuel gives Franck Morel's address and tells him to jump out of the car. Franck jumps out of the car and starts running away from the police as quickly as possible. During the night, Franck steals another man's car to continue his journey. Franck knows that Morel has a particular medical condition for which he used to take medicine in jail. He plans to wait near the nearest medical store for Morel's phone location so that he can catch him. Franck hides in an abandoned building near the medical store and waits for his chance. Morel sees a young girl in the market and his heart races. He decides that she will be his next target. When the girl was going home, Morel and his wife stopped her and asked for directions to a certain place. They told her that the route seemed quite complicated and asked if she would be kind enough to guide them there. Initially, the girl was hesitant to get into the car, but seeing a child in the car, she agreed. However, after a short while, she realized that she had also been kidnapped. She then tried to escape and got out of the car, running towards the jungle, but Morel caught her and killed her at the same spot. The next day, when Franck sees Morel leaving the same shop, he quietly starts following him. After tailing him for quite some time, he finally manages to discover the address of Morel's house, which is in a rather desolate area. Franck starts waiting for nightfall so he can reunite with his daughter. As evening approaches, he quietly enters the house, relieved to see his daughter safe and sound. Franck is overjoyed. He hugs her tightly, just as the doorbell rings down. We see Claire has come to Morel's house for questioning. Actually, Claire also suspected Morel, which is why she came alone to search his house. However, she doesn't find anything at Morel's house and starts to leave. Upstairs, Franck is quietly escaping with his daughter in his arms when Morel arrives and points a gun at Franck. In a fit of rage, Morel threatens Franck, warning him to leave the girl downstairs or else he'll meet the same fate as the others. Claire overhears this conversation and rushes towards Morel with a gun, but Morel fires a shot at Claire, leaving her unconscious. Taking advantage of the situation, Franck starts running away with his daughter. Morel follows Franck with the gun, determined to kill him. Meanwhile, we see Claire is still alive, but when Morel's wife comes to Claire to finish her off, Claire attacks her, rendering her unconscious. On the other side, Morel finds Franck and shoots him in front of his daughter. Franck falls down from the hill but manages to cling onto a tree, saving his life. Morel prepares to shoot Franck again and make him fall. Just then Claire arrives. She shoots the ruthless serial killer and he falls from the hill into the river below. Following this, Claire and her police chief are trying to save Franck, but suddenly Thomas arrives. He believes that Franck is the one responsible for his daughter's death and seeks revenge. In his quest for vengeance, he shoots Franck. The police capture Thomas and take Franck's daughter with them. The next day, the police conduct a search operation in the river, but they only find Morrel's body, and Franck is missing. The movie then shifts 3 months forward, where we see Franck's daughter living in an orphanage. Claire visits Franck's daughter and notices a drawing in her hand. The caretaker tells her that the drawing was sent to the girl in a letter, and ever since she received it, the child has been very happy. This suggests that Franck is still alive and in hiding. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and like the video.